Amazing. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for Open for Pride. I had a lot of fun with the title of this, given that we are both in Pride Month and US Open Month, which I don't know. I know, Suzanne, you were at Olympic Club this past weekend, getting to see the final round, which wild, like insane.
Crazy.
Insane, amazing. And then we have next week the US Men's Open over at Torrey Pines, which Brad and I just played virtually on 5-iron golf simulator. And we are both people who have played Torrey Pines in real life before, and it was 100% harder virtually. So we're excited to see how the boys tee it up next week at Torrey. But again, thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation, this celebration with all of you. And Shiloh is putting in the chat if anybody has any questions throughout this panel, throw them in the chat, and we will love to talk about them, add them into the conversation. But as we get started, I'm going to introduce our fabulous panelists today. So first up, we have Tad Fujikawa with he, him pronouns, and he is a native of Hawaii and the first openly gay male professional golfer. He came to fame in 2006 when he qualified for the US Open at Winged Foot, and that made him the youngest ever to qualify at 15 years old. And then the next year, he made the cut at the Sony Open in Hawaii, becoming the youngest player in 50 years to make the weekend at a PGA Tour event. So all around badass, and is still playing, kicking ass on the golf course, and has been a huge advocate for LGBTQ athletes, and especially athletes in golf, and is a fellow athlete and athlete ally ambassador with me. So Tad, very excited to have you here. We next up have Hailey Davidson. She, her pronouns, is a Scottish-born transgender athlete and recently became the world's first trans woman to win a professional golf tournament and hopes to be the first to earn her full LPGA Tour card. Amazing, all around incredible trailblazer. So much fun just on and off the golf course. I love the fact that you are heavily inspired by the movie Stick It, starring Missy Peregrine, which, you know, I really define all of my viewing of gymnastics off of that movie. And so I'm just waiting for Simone Biles to do a routine I cannot remember the names of those songs in that movie, but Simone, you've done it all. Now do Stick It. But Hailey, so excited to have you here. And honestly, hot off the heels of your first professional win at the NWGA in Florida, which is really amazing and exciting. And also, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more in this conversation, but officially eligible to chase after your LPGA Tour card. Which is also really exciting. So really excited to have you here. Next up, we have Shane Diamond. Hi, Shane. Shane with the pom-poms.
Oh, this was for Hailey. I'm not pom-pomming myself.
But also you should pom-pom yourself because you are absolutely fabulous in your own right. Shane Diamond, he, him, is a trans advocate, wow, and activist, educator, former women's college hockey ice player, and a proud New Mexican, also a pretty phenomenal golfer, has family ties to some golf. You're a good golfer. Come on, good golfer. Shane's partner, Anne, has told me all about his golfing prowess. So I'm going to trust Anne there and not let you be self-deprecating.
Well, I survived meeting the future father-in-law on the golf course, so I kept up there.
I think that's a win. It's absolutely a win. Shane is also the Impact campaign coordinator for Changing the Game, which is this amazing documentary following for trans high school athletes that just released on Hulu. So everybody go watch it. It's absolutely phenomenal. And everybody who's been a part of it is incredible. So Shane is no stranger to conversations about LGBTQ inclusion in sports. And, you know, we're so excited to have him here.
Thanks so much, Maya.
And also, I just love being on Zoom with Shane. We have been on Zoom many a time in the past week. Him and his partner, Anne, just sent over, I don't know why I'm talking about all of this, but just sent over this insane burnt almond cake that I have eaten for truly too many meals. So thank you for that. Yes, Brad, you are up next. Bradford Wilson, who is coming to you all live from my living room. So if you keep seeing him look back, we are looking at each other. But Brad, him is an award-winning actor, filmmaker, and former college golfer who is now making a career as a golf influencer and host. After creating his series, Dear Golf, where he unpacks golf's biggest issues, diversity, with humor and a no BS approach, Brad co-created a podcast called Group Golf Therapy with some of golf's great young minds, Drew Westfall and Connor Laubenstein, which they are all amazing. We just did a podcast with them right before this episode, and let me tell you, there were Star Wars props involved. So I don't know if that's enough to tune in, but I feel like it should be.
Star Wars props and tears.
And finally, we have the wonderful Suzanne Ford, she, her, a fierce activist working towards equal rights for the trans community. She is employed as the regional sales manager at Revere Packaging, being named by Plastic News as one of women breaking the mold in the packaging industry in 2017. Suzanne is also a board member and vice president of San Francisco Pride. And in 2019, Suzanne was one of the 4 founders of the first annual San Francisco Pride Pro-Am golf tournament at Harding Park. Stay tuned for the next iteration of it, which will be in October, with a special guest appearance by Tad. And, you know, just being the best always. And she was also featured in Golf Digest as a part of this San Francisco Pride Pro-Am, and has been working on the board of the Trans Heartline. Suzanne lives in the SF Bay Area with her wife Beverly and son Daniel, who I believe is graduating today, which is very, very exciting.
Yes, tonight.
Yay!
Congrats.
People are making preparations all around the house, but I've got a quiet place.
It's amazing. A momentous day for all of us, especially your son. And Suzanne also has been a big part in leading these conversations about LGBTQ inclusion in golf. Recently was part of Team She Is Pride campaign at the US Women's Open, and was the fan on the ground on Sunday, the final round. And is just a huge, amazing person in these conversations. So very, very excited to have you here. Very excited to have all of you here. You know, today we're here celebrating LGBTQ plus community in golf. And it's Pride Month, a time where we celebrate our queer elders and the progress that they started, and the progress that we're continuing to work towards in the world of sports, golf, and in general, where we can live joyously, authentically, and continue to state that we belong. It is also US Open month, which I'm pretty sure I've said a million times already, but I get very excited for the majors. And it's 2 majors back to back in my home state of California, at a time where celebrations keep coming and the excitement of watching the world's best golfers show off their hard work and battle some of the best courses in the world. So just celebrations all around, a lot of joy. I mean, last week, right, like we saw Meg Hagan, Daisy Queen, who I will never stop talking about because I adore her, and 17-year-old tearing it up at Olympic Club. And then Yuko Saso, who just 19-year-old tying, was it Inbee Park for the youngest US Open winner at 19 years old. First Filipino winner as well. She just truly having the times of their lives and crushing it at Olympic Club in San Francisco. And then to top it all off for this major Pride Month, we have the men's open for the first time since 2008 at Torrey Pines. I remember back in 2008, my family and I were watching Tiger. I believe he had like a broken ankle and won the open that year, which wild, just a lot. Do less, Tiger, except don't, because it's fun to watch you play. But I'm so excited to be having these conversations and to just be celebrating golf and queerness and inclusion. So let's get into it, everybody. Oh, also, I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the amazing organizations that are supporting this conversation. We have San Diego Pride. We have San Diego Loyal Soccer Club. We have Rebellion 99, which is the official supporters group of the new National Women's Soccer League professional team in Los Angeles. We are Angel City. We also have Random Golf Club, Athlete Ally, the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative, which wildly Billie Jean King shouted us out, and that's just still recovering from that because one of the goats in conversations about inclusion and equity in sports. And then we have Queer Asian Social Club, and I just could not be more excited to have such a phenomenal group of folks on the screen right now, folks behind the screen. And yeah, so without much more of me rambling on, let's get into this. So this question is to everyone. What do you love about golf, sports, and this month of celebration? Big, wide question, but I'm going to throw it to Brad since he is unmuted right now.
I am. Oh. What do I love about golf this month? Wow. There's a lot. Golf is the ultimate educator for me. Education of this great game, education of myself, learning to control and manage my own emotions on and off the golf course, which is why I'm such an advocate for why golf is important for youth. Etiquette, manners, being a decent human, care for your fellow man, for your environment, the course, being out in nature. Love all those things about golf. I love the competitive nature of golf. I love this month because I get to look outside of myself and be a part of something that is bigger than me and be on the right side of history. I look at where we are in 2021 as still very, very much a part of the civil rights movement. We're in it right now. And anything that I can add to that, I'm happy to.
And you're like you have been doing so much incredible work in conversations about POC inclusion and being a fierce ally for the queer community through your series, Dear Golf. Hi, Addie, it's a guest appearance by the cat. But I mean, I think that's so huge. Like everything that you're saying, golf is like this immense teacher and this place, this very, very equitable place. It can be, it often isn't. Sure. But, kind of like emphasizing that we all belong and that, this is a space for all of us. I am a huge fan of everything that you're doing on Instagram. And I'm very glad that we have become real life friends and the fact that you are sitting in my apartment right now with my cat.
I can't tell you how much that means to me that your cat is a friend of mine now. And you as well. Thank you for opening up your home to me. God, accepting me with open arms.
Of course. And I want everybody to know Brad's really fantastic shirt, if you want to show it off, which is...
I have to, so you were giving our intros to everybody, and Shane and I were messaging each other back and forth. So if you watch the playback, or those of you that are joining in, you see me look like typing at my screen. Shane sent me a message saying, I need your
I
shirt.
was like,
I
I need
sent
that
Shane a
shirt.
message, I need your shirt. And we were just copying and pasting links. I'll put it in the larger chat if I can. It's from Philadelphia Printworks. Shout out to them. They have such incredible social justice, all types of merch you can get there. I believe it is Black woman owned, Philadelphia Printworks, throwing that out there. So I will put the link in the chat for you all.
Hell yeah.
Model is 5'10", wearing a size medium.
Shane, since you were off mute, let's go to the other person with the dope shirt.
Model is wearing a size medium, and I am 5'7", and I just put the link. This is Laisha Clarendon, who is the first non-binary trans person to play in the WNBA. And they started their season here in Brooklyn with the New York Liberty and is now with the Minnesota Lynx and is doing great. So I put the link in the chat. What am I loving about June and golf and Pride Month? I was listening to Brad's response and I forgot the question. What am I celebrating?
What do you love about golf, sports, and this month of celebration?
I'm so happy I'm trans. I love it. And I am, as you said, Maya, we have been on a number of panels this month, and June is busy for the gays. But I am so grateful that people are passing us the mic as much as we are now taking the mic. And the interest in from folks who want to learn more about what they can do to make sport more equitable and more inclusive and more fun is such a great opportunity. And I'm so excited to be part of conversations like this that help welcome and bring people in to a game that we love and get to share together. And I will totally admit that I grew up totally hating golf because I didn't feel like I belonged. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later if it comes up, but it is being part of this and being part of this community, both as a queer community and a golf community, is such a gift. And so this month I get to be as queer and trans as I want to be, and the weather's getting nice, so I can get on a course soon. And I'm looking forward to more conversations like this, and hopefully this continuing, right? Like continuing the conversations after this panel so that more folks feel jazzed and encouraged about bringing more people into golf.
Absolutely. And I mean, of the other things that Shane and I talk about a lot is our obsession with shorts. And yes, we did find pride flag shorts that we are both determined to wear on the golf course, and not just any pride flag shorts, but trans pride flag shorts. And go to chubbies.com for those. This is not sponsored by Chubbies, but hey, sponsor us. Sponsor these pride conversations. Tad, what about you?
Chubby?
Oh, I don't think you're on mute still.
There you go. Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, after those first two responses, I really don't have much left to say, but I think for me, golf has given me so many great opportunities, not only to travel, to learn about myself, but also to meet other people. And I think that's something that golf is kind of different from a lot of sports. You just meet so many people from different backgrounds, and it's a very universal sport. And I think we're trying to make it more inclusive, through conversations like these, which is great. And the thing that I like most about celebrating Pride Month is I get to meet people from different sports. LGBTQ specific people, you know, and that to me is very cool, because it's like I'm meeting people that I know, but I don't really know, you know. So and I can feel like I have a better connection with them. So it's always fun, obviously, to have these conversations. And you know, with this month being Pride Month, I think it kind of highlights you know, our uniqueness, and it allows us to express who we are better.
One might say our charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
That's right. Exactly right.
Okay, so going from one of our pro golfers to our other professional golfer, Hailey, how has this journey been for you? Like, what do you love about golf? You're currently tearing it up.
Dude, golf is hard. Like, it's so hard. Oh my God. I'm seriously going to take up ping pong, but that's like super hard too. No, but seriously, like one thing I love about Pride Month, and I don't obviously mean to be more biased towards the trans side of it, just because obviously I am trans. But it's like, you know, there's so much negativity just the past few years towards like the trans community. I just as like a whole, when it's spoke about in the media, whatever it may be, and just about our community in general, like the LGBTQ plus community. And it's nice to get like a month of positivity for once, whether it's like positive media coverage or just positive conversation for once. You know, like I've been like so sick of just all the negativity that comes out about the trans community. And it is nice and sad at the same time that it is like a 1 month switch to like finally some positivity, you know, that as much as the negative helps to learn and for all of us to grow, you know, the positivity kind of helps you know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it just helps us know that, you know, it's not that difficult to like be positive and show this light to others. I think it's just a constant reminder that, hey, you know, just like everything, the end goal, you know, and I'm sure we can all agree, I'm sure we all don't love having a Pride Month, but you know, it's great we have one to create, you know, visibility and everything, but it does suck at the same time that we need to have a Pride Month in the first place, you know? So I think it's really given me a sense of what one community can do for each other and as a whole when you come together, which is so rare, you know, in today's world. But when it comes to golf, you know, it's been my therapy my whole life. You know, it's been, as much as it was something that helped me hide things very well for quite some time, you know, it kind of gave me life, and it gave me therapy. You know, I'm sure there's so many times where I probably thought of some pretty negative things, or probably thought of some pretty negative things about myself, and just being able to go up to the golf course, and in a way, that's why I loved golf at first, because I got to spend time by myself. You know, I was a bit of a loner anyway as a kid, but I got to spend time by myself, think, and just kind of like either hash things out. You know, like golf can do so much for you in that way, for every emotion. You know, if you're super angry and having a bad day, go rip some drivers for half an hour. You know, like it really helps in so many different ways. So I think you know, what I love about golf is, you know, it's almost given me life in a way. You know, it's, as much as I hate to say golf is kind of like who I am, it really is. Like golf is every part of my life. It's pretty hard to, you know, describe any part of my life without touching on golf in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah.
I love that. I feel like so many of us here were like, golf is life in a way. And it's fun to kind of like, yeah, I mean, like this panel is all about a celebration of the sport that we love, of, you know, like being queer, of being like folks who, you know, can at times feel excluded from the sport. But, you know, like a very definitively saying that we belong in our queerness, in our, you know, like being POC, whatever it may be. Suzanne, you have done so much work in this space, along with San Francisco Pride, and then with the SF Pride Pro-Am golf tournament. And then most recently, you played Olympic Club with Michelle Wie ahead of the US Open. So, I mean, I feel like there's so many things about golf that you must love.
I do. I mean, I grew up in Kentucky, and I was a high school basketball player. I was really good at sports until physical talent mattered. So I was great up to about 12 or 13, and was really competitive, and sports helped me hide from being a trans girl. And, you know, I was the boy, and sports helped me do that. So, and then when I transitioned, I quit playing golf. All the people I'd played with didn't take my transition that well. A bunch of guys in their man caves. And so I quit for a long time. And it wasn't until we were approached at San Francisco Pride to do the Pro-Am that I got to play again. But, you know, golf for me is I don't have any competitive sports anymore. I'm not really competitive at golf, but when I wake up in the morning and I know that I'm playing golf that day, I feel like that little kid in Kentucky that was getting ready for a basketball game, or in Little League, I was a pitcher, and like the days that I pitched, nobody in the house could say anything to me. And that's the same feeling I get when I play golf. Like I don't ever want to lose that feeling. I used to be a competitive marathoner. I can't do that anymore. This iteration of Suzanne just doesn't have that anymore. So golf's my last thing, right? That I wake up excited to go play. And that's what I love about golf is we get to play. And as a 56-year-old trans woman, I don't know anywhere else that I get to play. And this month, you know, Pride Month has taken on a huge new meaning in my life, being on the board of San Francisco Pride. Obviously, we've had a few rough years with the pandemic, and but still, Pride Month in my house, like my calendar is stacked, and I get to do amazing things. And yeah, I got up one morning a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and I knew I was going to go play golf with Michelle Wie. And I was so nervous and scared. But again, like, wow, golf gave me that such an exciting feeling to wake up to know I was going to get to go do that. And there's a lot of privilege, because being at the Olympic Club reminds you of privilege and how far we got to go. So yeah.
I mean, not to mention that Olympic Club is one of the best golf courses in the world. Right across the street, I mean, like, this is my personal connection to Olympic Club. I have never played there. However, I have played at Lake Merced when the LPGA tournament Swinging Skirts was over there. It's now the Mediheal Championship that's happening this weekend. But my tie to Olympic Club is standing on some of the tee boxes at Lake Merced and having to aim at the fairways of Olympic Club right across the way. And let me tell you, it looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous from far away. It looks gorgeous on TV. I am infinitely jealous of you, Suzanne, that you got to go play it. And anybody else on this call who's been able to go play Olympic Club? Because damn, I mean, I can only say that I'm excited about Torrey.
I went there for a meeting last year, and when we walked in the clubhouse, I wondered to myself how many out trans women have ever walked through these doors. I had that feeling, you know.
It's amazing.
And you know, you can stand at Olympic Club, and you can see Lake Merced Country Club. You can see San Francisco Country Club, which I doubt any of us will ever see play on that course. And then you can see Harding Park. So you can, right there on that one, I don't remember which hole it was, but you can see all those courses, which is amazing.
Tad, you unmuted. Are you here to tell us that you've dominated Olympic Club?
I have not. I played the par 3 course there when I was like 12 years old. But other than that, and having one of their hamburger things, it's like, that is like literally to die for. It's like, you should just go there for their hamburger. It's literally that good. That's exactly right.
I have a picture of Michelle Wie and I having our first burger dogs together, and I will treasure that. Someday that's going to be up in a big frame.
Like, how could it not?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a whole other conversation that we can have about golf snacks. I was just telling Brad that I need to have a golf bag with many pockets because I have too many snacks. And as soon as I told him that, I pulled out a Costco-sized bag of turkey jerky. I have also, once upon a time, found an 3-month-old hot dog in my golf bag. So a pack rat, a hoarder I am, and I love snacks. But I mean, like, we're having this, there aren't, I think I've said this a million times before, but like, we don't really have these conversations about inclusion in golf. I know for the first time last year, which Suzanne was a big part of, we had Pride Day at the PGA Championship at Harding Park, which was absolutely incredible to have that be supported by the PGA and have so many incredible folks part of that panel. But you know, there really isn't a lot of visibility. I don't know how many times we've been able to kind of sit in a room like this and have a conversation like this. And I know for myself throughout my career, that felt a little bit isolating, not seeing LGBTQ athletes in my sport, but seeing them in other sports. And more than that, the fact that golf wasn't having these conversations, let alone addressing the LGBTQ community and inclusion, as well as golf's well-documented race and gender problems, made the isolation feel even more profound. And the avoidance in having these conversations and invisibly showing support for queer athletes and fans, even just with a simple use of a pride flag, I don't know, to me, it implied that we don't belong because we don't kind of conform. We aren't kind of like what golf says golfers should be. And so today we want to, and I think we've already started celebrating like how LGBTQ community in golf, POC in golf, and the incredible ways in which all of our panelists have championed that. And to, you know, steal from Random Golf Club's motto, all are welcome here. And, you know, that is important. So Shane, hi. You are the impact coordinator for the amazing film Changing the Game, a documentary that follows 4 trans high school athletes and the joy of playing sports, the importance of inclusion. And you are also an athlete in your own right through hockey as well as golf. Can you speak a little bit more about what visibility and having these conversations about inclusion in sports mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on this in your lead up to the question, which is being able to see ourselves in sport, and quite literally what that looks like. You know, when we were kids, when we were younger, like who were the people that we saw dominating sports and dominating golf, right? Like aside from Tiger, it was a lot of white dudes, and Michelle Wie was out there crushing it, but like there was no conversation about queerness. I was actually just thinking as you were asking that question, like I used to call it my my like lesbian like snapback hat days, where when I was like trying so hard to be like so butch, like right out of college, and everybody had the like snapback hats, and it was very like, ugh, like what would I have worn to a golf course, you know? And how would that have been received? And at any course, public or private, that's, you know, Bradford was talking about etiquette and like, could I show up in clothing that like didn't conform to the gender stereotype and feel safe and welcome? Like probably not. And now I show up as like an average white dude. And I will say that the longest shorts I own, the longest inseam I bought to wear to the golf course because of etiquette and respect and like the rules of the game. And so really carving out space now to be the visibility that we didn't have when we were younger. And thank you for asking about Changing the Game. It's been an incredible film that I've had the opportunity to work with for the past really 2 years on and off. It's now available on Hulu, and it follows trans high school athletes as they just want to compete. Like they just want to play. And it's the same reasons that we all just want to play sports. It's fun. It's an opportunity to socialize. It's a workout. It's what our friends are doing. It's, you know, for a high school athlete, it's like what you do after school. And these kids are paving the way in ways that they shouldn't have to as teenagers, to be able to fit into their sports. And so thinking about what I can do now, and now that I have a little more privilege, right? And I can take up a little more space, like what am I doing? What am I leaving in my snail trail behind me that the next generation, or the next generation of like trans people, older or younger, don't have to fight same fights that I did in order to get this visibility and feel this safety?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like being able to see folks like yourself exist in a space is huge. I mean, like, you know, I was talking a little bit about it earlier, but I know when TAD came out, I was like, oh my God, another queer Asian person in golf. And that's been huge, to, you know, like having that intersectionality, knowing there's another person who, you know, loves this weird sport with a tiny white ball as much as I do, has been huge. And it kind of, it says that we belong, like there's space for us here. And Hailey, you're doing a lot with that too. Like you are paving the way for visible representation of trans athletes in golf. And again, first trans golfer to win a professional tournament, which is amazing. What have been your experiences with visibility and having these conversations in golf, especially being somebody who is initiating these conversations?
Well, visibility doesn't exist. I was lucky enough to do an interview with a guy back home in Scotland this morning, and I was telling him the same thing. You know, what do you ask? Just, you know, as everyone knows, being trans has unfortunately become a very political thing. What his question to me was, did you ever see yourself having to get into more of a political space like this before I came out? And that was something I'll always reiterate is, I mean, when I first came out, I never thought I'd play golf again. You know, before coming out is, you know, everything started to come out more and more. And to be honest, actually, one of my best friends, Ayla, is watching this, and she's been through everything with me from literally the start. And that was one of the things I remember we would talk about all the time is, you know, for me, I always thought, because there has been zero representation, really. I mean, other than Bobby Lancaster, who I've been very lucky to now talk to, you know, quite a lot. There's been no representation. So when I first came out, I assumed, okay, this is it for me. Golf is done. You know, I remember when I first started taking hormones, I played golf for like 6 months before I lost my job, had to give up golf. And like at that point, I thought, okay, golf is done. You know, it's been great for me at this point in my life, you know, as much as it sucked and I never thought I'd ever want to say that. I figured, okay, golf's completely done. And it's interesting because it's around that same time I started talking to the LPGA. Not because I never thought I would be able to play, but I was like, I got nothing else to do. You know, I just lost all my friends. I got no job. I got nothing else to do, no golf. So why not email some people and figure out maybe what can be done? And while I never thought I would be able to play again, I figured hopefully by starting the conversation, say, even if it never affects me, say I never get to play golf again, maybe by just starting the conversation, it'll be better for someone else down the line. And that's where I was lucky. They put me in contact with Bobby Lancaster, who, you know, Jimmy Roberts did a story on Golf Channel years ago. And, you know, and Bobby's been such a great help for me. But at the same time, and Bobby's pointed this out, hers was more of like, you know, setting that precedent. You know, she was, you know, more towards her 60s, you know, was more or less doing it for the fact that, hey, this needs to kind of, that glass needs to be broken. So, you know, like I always tell her, I physically would not be here without her, you know, up until when the LPGA told me, oh, there has been a person who tried this, and they put me in contact with her. I thought I was just blowing smoke and passing time and, you know, just like, okay, here I'm having a conversation. I never think I'll play golf again. So it was, you know, I never, and that's why I always find, you know, interesting when I, you know, a lot of the backlash I get now is, oh, you couldn't win a tournament as a male, so you went ahead and did this as a woman. But like I just said, I mean, I never thought I'd play golf again, let alone come out to dominate a sport. I mean, heck, when I came out, I was like one or the other. It was like, as soon as I came out, I kept my golf clubs just because they had my initials on them and I couldn't sell them on eBay. It's very difficult to do that unless someone magically has the same initials. But yeah, no, it's like I said, it's been interesting, and it's no one. The one thing I find interesting, no one seemed to care about any of this until I won a golf tournament. Like up at first, like literally, it was like, oh, okay, you're gonna go do this, great. It's more of a conversation piece, or maybe a couple people asked me a few questions about it, but that was it. I played my first tournament, didn't play great, so the girls I played with were pretty okay with it, because again, I didn't play that great. My US Open qualifier was shot 4 over my last 9 to miss qualifying by 2. Again, because I didn't succeed, no one saw a threat with it. And this is what I find most interesting, and I'm sure, Tad can probably talk to you about this, is, when I won that mini tour event 3 weeks ago, it's like the world blew up in a way. And all I can think is, like I played in a tournament that ended yesterday. The girl that won yesterday doesn't, it's not a big thing for her to win. It's just like she won a mini tour event. Great, let's keep on plugging. But because when I did it, it was like this whole world was open up, because now people were going, oh, wow, a trans person just did something good. We can't let that happen. So it was like, that's when all the negativity started coming out. And I find interesting that none of the players seem to care much. I mean, I wouldn't care if I was playing against someone and they shot like 5 strokes higher than me. It doesn't really matter, especially if you're beating them. Like, say when a cis person beats me, they don't care. It's only when I beat, say if I play well and beat them, that's when the excuses come. It's like, I mean, there's no excuse. If I play bad and a girl beats me by 5, it's not because of anything she was born with, or, if she played better than me. It's simple. Golf's not all about hitting it 400 yards. And that's what I find so funny about all the comments online. Like, I don't look at them anymore. My parents sometimes do for me. But a lot of like the comments going on right now is, oh, it's like Bryson DeChambeau out there. Dude, if you want to find 70 yards and give it to me, I will gladly take it, because I do not hit the ball that far. So like even my average distance right now is what, like, I'm going to say like 270, 275. Well, the leader on the LPGA Tour is 292. So where's my advantage? Like, if you find it, please let me know, because golf is hard and I want one, but I can't get it. So like, it just, it's been very interesting. And to be honest, Shane, I watched, Changing the Game, and I was even telling Maya, I was lucky enough to talk to Mac after, and that was, his story personally was the most inspiring to me, because as much as I sit there and think, if I, say if someone was trying to use that same rhetoric on me, I'd be playing against the men, I wouldn't be playing well, so no one would care. He gets thrust into this situation that he was like verbally told everyone, I don't want to be like, I don't want this. You're literally like forcing this on me. And that's why, what he was able to do is, I mean, absolutely unbelievable, because, unlike our situation, yes, it sucks. He was, forced to do stuff that, I couldn't believe one of the last scenes I saw where he won states and they had to rush him out because of threats and stuff. Like, that's insane. It's a kid playing freaking, it's a kid wrestler. Like, calm down. Like, yes, in this case, Mac's insanely good and, can hopefully do some amazing things with it. But the most part, your high school athletes are just wanting to like be there and have fun. They don't, that's what I find so interesting about like all this trans stuff right now. Like the mass majority, 99.9% of kids join sports to like goof around, have fun, meet friends. I mean, that's what I did when I was a kid. I sucked at basketball, but I did it for 3 years because I wanted to meet people, like I was awful. I was a lazy kid who would stay at one side of the court because I was like, oh, they'll be back in a minute. I'll meet them here. Not kidding. That actually happened. Apparently you're not allowed to do that in basketball. I learned that the hard way. But anyway, like that was my kind of thing. But you know what I mean? Like you join sports to engage with others, not to compete, especially nowadays. Like, do they even let you keep, I don't even know if schools like let you keep score in sports anymore. Like I remember when I was in high school, and I know like me, you and I were all the kind of same age. I know kind of if I was getting into high school range, they were starting to like eliminate points and stuff for like kids in PE. And it was all about like, oh, what was the motto? Oh, if you had fun, you won. No, definitely not the case. If you lost by 5, you lost by 5. That having fun doesn't matter. But like, you know, I think we just need to, it's funny how they praise that, but at the same time, they then try to demonize things. So I think, you know, as much as all the negativity and stuff sucks, that's why as you can see, I joke around a lot, because I mean, honestly, if I was as angry and as negative as I was growing up, I don't know if I'd be here. I mean, golf and this community is what gave me life. And that's why, you know, I was never someone who could see myself volunteering or wanting to give back. But to be honest, going through so many, you know, like suicidal times, and in my opinion, this game and this community is what honestly gave me my life back. And I'm going to use all of that life I have been given back to give all back to that same community, you know, because as much as some things may be hard for me at times, there are so many kids, parents, people of all ages who don't have that strength, and you know, I haven't been lucky enough like I have to even be speaking with you guys here, you know, so I want to use any platform I'm given. I don't care if I have to go out, you know, put myself out there anymore. I don't care if anyone wants to scream at me, go ahead. I'm 6 foot tall, still born a dude, like still pretty big. But, you know, like just let's all love each other for once, you know, like I barely know half of you and I already love you all, you know, you're great.
I mean, like, I think so much of what you're talking about is this like joy of getting to live and exist authentically as like who you are. And Tad, I wanted to ask you kind of like about how that has been. I also love that you're wearing the Pride Whoop strap. My whoop is kind of homophobic to me because it's like, when I lift heavy, it's like, did you even breathe today? And I'm like, shut up. But I mean, you are the first openly gay male professional golfer. So like, what has it meant to you as a pro golfer to be able to finally just be you and be authentically you?
For me, for my personal life, it's been great. You know, I've been able to, I feel like since I've come out, I've been able to have a better and deeper connection with my family. You know, I've always been close with my mom, but my dad and I were never that close. But you know, since coming out, I feel like the wall that was between us has kind of been broken down. I mean, he just went to Vegas and he came back and he bought me like Pride socks. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that's not a thing, right? But like it's just stuff like that. You know, and you know, I can talk to my parents about guys, and you know, I don't have to hide or be ashamed about that. So in that aspect of it, it's been really good. And then just being able to, for me, have a platform, you know, to help other people. That's become, I don't want to say the reason why I play golf, but it's become a big part of it. And that's become, for me, my passion and my purpose. And obviously I still love the game, and it's nice that I'm somewhat having fun again in the game, because for a long time I didn't. I was in a bad place for a number of years. So you know, just having that and finally feeling like, hey, I can be comfortable being authentic and I don't have to hide anything. Just that in itself has been quite amazing. And you know, obviously just meeting everybody has been great too. But yeah, it's just, to me, I think being authentic is something that is so special, and a lot of us take for granted, you know, until you feel like you can't be yourself. And then when you finally can, it's like a weight has been lifted off of your shoulders. So yeah, so for me, it's meant a lot to me. And you know, I've I don't think I've ever been happier with myself as a person and with what I'm doing as well.
I mean, I think that's so much of like all of us have been talking about is how special it is to be authentic, be authentically you, and kind of play the game that you love. And I think that speaks a lot to kind of everything that in golf and in any sport we talk about in growing the game. And I mean, like, it's a phrase that we see in so many different sports. But golf especially loves to use the hashtag grow the game. And as we've talked about, you know, it's only been recently that these conversations have encompassed inclusion. And, you know, still at the same time, so much of the culture of golf has stayed the same. The country club culture, the hypermasculinity, the gender pay gap, and so many things. And Brad, you actually talk about this a lot in your Dear Golf series about the lack of acknowledgement of inclusion in our sport and where that comes from. And you know, just the first time that any leading organization in golf flew a pride flag was the USGA last year. And the first Pride event was at the PGA Championship at Harding Park last year. And even in those two spaces, right, like even when, you know, the USGA or PGA speaks about LGBTQ inclusion or speaks about racial equity, you can still see in like the comments, which I think it should be a general rule to never read the comments, abolish all comments. But you can still see in the comments like this pervasive culture of exclusion. And Brad, could you speak a little bit more about kind of like your experiences with that and what you're doing with Dear Golf?
There we go. Thank you. I pride myself on being a comment warrior. It's really, really difficult for me to fight the good fight. As I mentioned before, you know, pride is cool for me because I get to be a part of something bigger than me. I get to use my platform as a cisgendered, heterosexual dude, Black man, who represents a lot of things in my own culture. And if I can use my platform, use a microphone, a screen, editing software to reach the hearts of the people who look at me and listen to what I'm saying, I feel responsible to do that. Being a comment warrior is a part of that. Being a comment warrior is, I just branded that term just now. I don't know if anyone's ever used that before, but that's gonna be my bio. Right now it says actor, writer, cat, godmother. But I'm gonna put comment warrior next to that. That's part of my brand. I get in the trenches and I clap back at people because who else is going to? I haven't seen it from people in my community. And I'm looking around the room like, hello, do we see what this guy just said? He's got a blue check to his name talking about he doesn't belong, she doesn't belong. What is this crap? Like, and as you can tell from my energy, I don't, you know, mince words. I don't bite my tongue. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, especially now when inclusion is the soup du jour. When people are paying attention, when people are following and liking and subscribing, you're going to hear what I have to say. And I'm calling people out. That doesn't come without a price, however, I should add. Many therapy sessions have been had where, and I love my therapist. She actually specializes in activism fatigue. And part of what led me to creating Dear Golf was last summer. I live in LA. I was on the streets daily, marching, protesting, walking arm in arm with folks who are hurting. That emboldened me. That flipped a switch in my everything. And my partner, who I believe is in this Zoom right now, countless nights holding me while I'm sobbing, like shaking, because there's still so much left to do. And I felt hurt, and I felt like everything, like I felt like the walls around me were caving in, and I didn't know what to do. So what I did was I found a therapist who could meet me where I was at and help me unpack those feelings. And I was encouraged to take all of that energy, use it creatively. And that's what started Dear Golf, was that activism, that energy, that just aggression that I had pent up. I needed a creative outlet. I'll drop a link to Dear Golf if those of you who are in the chat don't already know about it or have not seen it. I later learned that I co-opted that phrase from Random Golf Club. Theirs was more of a, here's why I love golf. Mine is more of a, golf, we love you, but here's what you got wrong. Here's who you left out. And shout out to Tad. I put him in, I believe, Dear Golf 2, where I was like, golf brands, golf companies, you have the opportunity, you have the platform to be on the right side of history. You have the platform to bolster this movement and get your support behind a player like Tad, who is grinding out on the mini tours, who could use a boost. And the next generation who is watching, who are getting into golf, golf has our culture, our society by the throat right now. So these conversations that we're having are so important. And if I can, directing attention to people like Tad, to people like who are on this panel right now, to garner attention, to garner funds, sponsorships, brand partnerships, any of that. If I can do that by using my voice, by using the skills that I've been given, that the talents that I've been given. Thank you, Carla and Daryl. I love you both. If I can use those things to fight the good fight, to preach what needs to be broached, then that's what I'm going to do. I feel responsible to do that.
I feel like that's the very essence of like growing the game, right? It's like making the space, making any space better for the next generation, better for us, because I mean, we're still in it, and there's no reason why we can't make it amazing, make it better than it is for ourselves right now. Because again, love golf, kind of a stupid sport. It's a
really dumb
to literally they're like, do the least. And this morning at 5-iron golf, Brad and I were like, what if we did the most? Which we did. But I mean, it's like, it's all about having fun. And I remember, you know, I'm sure all of you can agree with this, but it's like, you end up playing the best golf or playing the best at your sport when you're able to have fun. And having fun means feeling like you belong, feeling like you are in this space, feeling like you're supported, feeling that you can just be you and have fun. And in so many sports, you know, queer folks, people of color we're not able to do that. And it's really, really, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I'm so grateful for all of you on this panel, is like, there's so many of us representing so many different identities and loving golf and loving sports and fighting to just be ourselves and play this dumb game with this little white ball, right? Or it can sometimes be yellow and high Volvic. Give me some free golf balls. Thank you very much. I will play with those pink things. And I did not mean the sexual innuendo that ended up being, but happy Pride to everyone. But yeah, I mean, like, this is all about having fun. And to that end, I wanted to ask all of you, you know, like, we are in major championship season. The US Opens are happening. We're about to be at Torrey Pines next week. Literally, I love that course so much. I will keep talking about it. I have a flag signed by Tiger from the Farmers Insurance Open right behind me, that, you know, for a while I had above my bed, and let that say what it may say. But, you know, like, so far, the only major golf tournament to celebrate Pride has been the PGA Championship in 2020. And so with 2 US Opens happening this year in California, a state that has been at the forefront of LGBTQ equality and rights, can you all speak a little bit about the impact of the majors having conversations on equity and inclusion can have on making these things a reality, and what those conversations can look like in a celebratory way? Because I think a lot of the things that we're talking about, you know, have been reactive, and I'm not just, you know, not saying that reactions are bad, so to speak, but oftentimes we're having these conversations of equity and inclusion in reaction to violence or trauma that has happened towards a marginalized community. And when those are the only times we're having these conversations, it kind of sends this, you know, we call it in media, you know, kill your gays, right? Like there's this trope where like a queer character is in a movie, but their existence is only validated by a tragedy that happens. And, you know, when we're having these conversations in reaction to a trauma, it kind of perpetuates that marginalized folks, like, you know, we're only able to have conversations or be included or have our voices elevated in response to a tragedy. So, I mean, what does it look like to have equity and inclusion in the majors, in these bigger platforms, and have those be celebratory? Suzanne, I mean, like, you work with San Francisco Pride. How much more celebratory can a Pride organization be?
Well, it's funny. We're often in the crosshairs about whether to be celebratory or is it a protest, and we're at tension with that all the time. And, you know, I don't think we ever get that quite right. And, you know, I think those two things are valid. I know my experience with golf inclusion, with the majors, you know, the PGA approached us after the golf tournament, you know, got the publicity in Golf Digest, and they were getting ready for the PGA at Harding Park. And, you know, I will give the PGA, it's hard to judge how it really came off Pride Day at the PGA because they, you know, the pandemic happened. Obviously, they had to scale back what they had planned. They did recognize us and did work with us. And I think, you know, I'm so glad that they went through the effort. There could have been some improvements. There was some of it that was to check the box. That we all see during Pride, you know, from corporations and organizations, but they had more planned for us than actually happened. So, and I have continued to work with people in the PGA and in working with them now about some transgender training. The USGA for this Women's Open, I'll just tell you this experience, and I think it points to that we all have so much, you know, what Brad's. I mean, we have so much work to do because, you know, the USGA approached us over a year ago, after the PGA, at the tournament, the director of the Women's Open approached us, and we started sitting down with them and planning well over a year ago, and then they kind of ghosted us for a little while, and then they called us in a couple of weeks before the tournament, and they said, we're going to have a one-pager for you that our marketing team has developed. So we had no inclusion about the planning for what was going to be Pride Day at the U.S. Women's Open. And then about a week and a half before the tournament, their marketing person said to me that we know it's counterintuitive, but since we've now been opened up more by the city of San Francisco, we can have more people at the tournament. So that means now that our 6 major corporate sponsors, will be at the tournament, and that means we can't have Pride Day at the U.S. Women's Open. Okay, so, and you know what, I hope I get to work more with the USGA. I hope they come back to the table. I hope I'm not burning any bridges, but I want to tell the truth about what, when somebody, that's been really a valuable lesson for me to learn. As a white privileged person, even though I'm trans, I have a lot of privilege to be sitting at that table. I saw other people with privilege at that table say to the USGA, "Oh, well, we're still excited. They gave us some tickets, and we're so excited to work with you." Well, no, that wasn't the correct answer. The correct answer is, this is very disappointing. You had the chance at the U.S. Women's Open in San Francisco at the Olympic Club to center trans, queer, people of color, and none of that happened. That did not happen, and it is counterintuitive to me. So, I wanted to be, in that Sunday, I was on the course as, with She Is, which Maya and I, and I was excited to be there. But all day long, I felt like, oh my God, I have to temper this excitement because, I got to be here. But there was no centering of marginalized people by the U.S. Women's Open. And it makes me I kind of sick to my stomach talking about it. I hate to be that way today when it should be about joy, but you know what? There was some joy and there's some celebrations, and God, I was on the course with Michelle Wee 2 weeks ago, and it was so great, right? And I got to play at the Olympic Club. But you know what? There's not a lot of people like me that roam around that area where the Olympic Club is. I did not see any Black trans people at the U.S. Women's Open, not one. And they've got a lot of work to do. So we that's going to give us we're not going to run out of work as far as people on this panel. So I hope that I didn't want to be negative, but I want to tell the truth. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think like you were saying earlier, right? Like, Pride is a protest and it is a celebration, right? Like, it's a celebration for what has come, our queer ancestors. And it's also a protest of everything and all of the work we still have to do to continue, celebrating our authenticity, our identities, and everything that comes along with that. And I think that, it's a phrase that is used a lot, but these things contain multitudes, right? And so I think in talking about joy, sometimes we do have to acknowledge the negative aspects there and kind of put that in contrast, right? Like, with why the joy is so important, like why having the space to be celebrated and be centered as marginalized folks is so important. It's so that like the next generation, so that like there isn't just Suzanne on the golf course playing with Michelle Wee, that there are more of us on these golf courses, in these country clubs. Like, hell, I want to see all of us out at Augusta National, because like, come on, look at those magnolias. How can anything be gayer? I mean, they're quite gay. And I am reclaiming the magnolias for us today. But I mean, Shane, what about you? Like, you work a lot on the advocacy side with Changing the Game, with Athlete Ally, with so many incredible organizations. Like, what does it mean when you're in the trenches having these conversations about, inclusion and equity, to focus them on celebrations and kind of have this shift towards the joy of inclusion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm so inspired by what has been said from today's panelists. This is such a joy. I always love when I get to learn from folks. When I feel like I'm like doing the work, I'm like, I got this. It's just, I'm so inspired by all of you on this panel. Thank you so much. I think sometimes for those of us doing the work, it can feel like we're screaming into the ether. As trans people, as people of color, as queer people, we're like, obviously include us. We're here, we're at the doorstep. We want to give you our money. Like, let us do this thing. And it seems like it's often falling like no one's home, right? Like we're knocking outside and no one's home. And so we need more people to care about these issues, right? When we talk about trans inclusion in sport, we heard a little bit from Hailey about her experience, and like, that's totally true. Nobody cares until you win, like, especially for trans women, and especially for Black trans women, right? Like, no one cares when trans athletes are losing, and when trans athletes start to win, it becomes about things that it shouldn't be, right? Sports are fun. You're talking about golf being a stupid game. We're here because this is fun. And so we can't be the only ones fighting this fight, right? This is, trans rights are human rights. And so if it feels like we are the only ones like standing atop this roof and shouting about let us in, we need more people to be screaming with us, right? And so if you're part of a country club, if you go to a public course, if you're leading sports in your community, if there are youth sports in your community, what are the policies like for trans inclusion? What does it look like for someone to walk into your country club or onto your golf course? Is it accessible? Is it welcoming? And we need folks that are not trans people and people of color and queer people to be the only ones starting these conversations. So hopefully folks are feeling inspired and fired up by what we've said today, and they want to take this and go to those people, right? It also comes from leadership. So if you want to see more queer representation in the PGA and the LPGA, if you want to see pride flags, let them know. Slide into those DMs, hit them up on Twitter. It is amazing how quickly JetBlue will tweet you back if you complain about something, right? Like, they're following Twitter. So if you want to see more representation, if you want to see more inclusion, talk to the people who are making these decisions. They need to hear from us as fans of the game, as we are growing the game. As Brad said earlier, we need to demand more inclusion, and we need to demand it loudly, and we need all the support we can get to do so.
And growing the game and including everyone who wants to play, right? Like, it only makes the game better. Like, think about, it's like, I'm so excited to get to go out and play with Hailey and Tad whenever we're in the same city, all three of us, because it's like, you both are phenomenal golfers. And it's like, I want to play with amazing golfers, right? Hailey, stop that. You just won a tournament. But, it's like, the more people that are playing, I always think about it's like playing with better golfers, playing with other golfers makes me a better golfer. And so the more people that I get to play with, the more people I get to learn from on the golf course, the more people I get to hang out with, the better golfer I'm going to be. And at the end of the day, if we just want to be selfish about it, what more can you ask for? I know we're kind of coming to the end of our time, but Tad, Hailey, Brad, I wanted to, if you guys could quickly chime in about, these celebrations and what it means to have, leading organizations of golf and these major championships acknowledge and celebrate by centering marginalized communities, like what that means and what that could look like.
I'll go first. I feel like the majors are obviously the biggest tournaments in golf. So you're going to have the most notability, the most TV time usually, and most likely, the most people watching. And, that in itself is such a great platform to recognize our community. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a protest, I think it comes across that way a lot of times, but just to recognize us and just by doing that, it will grow the game. If we all stay quiet about it, nothing is ever going to change. And having these conversations and standing up in the comments, being a comment warrior. I get tired of that crap. Like, honestly, I get so annoyed and I'm like, I can't take it anymore. But then something in the back of my head goes, hey, you know what? You have this platform to change sport for so many kids and athletes. And why are you just sitting back and not doing anything? So, I feel like for me personally, I need to be out there. And I think, if the major championships, the largest organizations in golf can be a part of that as well, it's only going to be better for the game, to have everyone included and not just a section of our, of our community.
I'll jump in. So I feel like, and this is honestly what I think is so cool about just like Brad and what he's doing right now. I think that's the biggest part of kind of pride in itself is and I think that's probably why people do think anything pride related it comes off as like a protest or things like that, because it generally is just us, like when you go to pride events, it's generally like all of our stuff is for the most part generally people in our community, like, and that's why I think part of growing and just giving our community more visibility is through, say people like Brad who say may not be a part of, just like you mentioned earlier, heterosexual, cis, Black male, but it's that representation which really helps us more. I think it's about normalizing our conversations rather than anytime people think, like the big thing, I'm sure a lot of us get is you mention anything pride and they think, okay, great, you're going to be pushing something on me or whatever. I think it's just normalizing conversations to where a conversation about pride doesn't actually need to involve someone in the community. I think it's really growing those conversations to where two straight heterosexual cisgender men can have conversations like that, and it's a normal thing. And I know that's obviously why golf communities have such a tough time, and especially just my time working at a golf channel the past 2 years. I know that's anytime I brought up stuff, even at work, to get like an ERG group, it's seen as more in the golf community as you're trying to push this and you're trying to create kind of like a movement or something with it, rather than we're not wanting any of that. We just want to have some mention and be normalized. We're not trying to ask for anything special. And I think that's more the message we need to get through to people. Like, I know, Maya, when you and I were talking about those comments a few days ago, obviously the first thing I had to go do is read all the comments and then reply back to half of them, just because I was really bored for like an hour. But, it's sad because as you read those comments, that's more or less what it is. We need more normalization not from our community. Our community, for the most part, has our back. It's those onlookers who are judging us. Those are the people who, we have the love and pride for each other. We all know how much we can give to each other and how much we can grow our community with us. But unfortunately, we are still the minority, and it's not about becoming a majority. It's just about becoming equal, regardless of how many of us there are or what we do. That's like my big thing. I'm not trying to ask for anything special or get kind of any advantages. I just want to get to the same starting line at the same time you do. There's no extra things being asked for. It's just, and I think that's just something we need to kind of come to terms with anyone, regardless of LGBT or your religion or anything. Most people, they're not asking for privileges. They're just asking for equality. And I think we need to start to separate, equality and privilege are two completely different things. Unfortunately, a lot of society now sees equality as that same group being privileged in a way. It's like, no, unfortunately, some groups are just so privileged where they see that as normal, and they're wondering why everyone else isn't like that. It's like, no, I think we just need to start to learn to normalize things rather than, I love that we can celebrate and do all that for each other, but it's more just about normalizing us, as much as I love to celebrate myself and I'll never shut up and I'll never be quiet and I'll always yell and scream louder than everyone else, as much as that's just my personality. And I'm so glad I get to do this anyway. It would kind of be nice knowing that it's not needed, but unfortunately, to normalize something, kind of like Tad was saying, you do just need to stand up and make your voice heard. And as much as other people see that as an awful thing right now, well, screw them. Let's just make this a normalized thing through all of us. And, as much as, I'm not trying to single anyone out right now, but honestly, as great as everyone, on this board is right now, I think it's awesome for Brad to be here, even though he's not a part, say of the community directly. I think that's really cool. And that's what we need more of, is more, more focused on, say, the allyship of things rather than just the actual community itself.
I appreciate that. And I'm amongst greats right now. Like that's how I look at all of y'all. And I'm so honored to be able to speak to any of it. If I had a message for my own community, specifically the Black community, I would say, listen to the things that these folks are saying and draw the parallels to our own community. We have been fighting for equality since we were brought to these shores in 18 whatever, against our will. We're still fighting the same fight. Listening to all of you speak about the hurdles and the troubles and the bad stuff, how could I separate myself? I may not be in the community, but the message is the same. We're not asking for privileges. We're asking for equity and equality. That's not an impossible thing. It's just that simple. Whether you grew up religious or not, whatever you believe, the through line is equality. And if I can talk to Black people specifically, it is, this fight is familiar. You already know what to say. You're born with it. You hear it in your homes growing up. You know what to say, you know what to do, just apply it to your advocacy for this community. And it all makes sense. It's like plug and play. It's so simple. And as much as I appreciate what you just said, bigging me up, hyping me up, I appreciate it. It makes so much sense to me. It's a no-brainer to me. I already know what this feels like. Maybe not directly, but indirectly. I know what it's like to walk on the grounds of a private country club and get looks and stares, or be asked to leave because I'm not buying anything. Are you sure? I just paid $140 for this tea time. You sure I didn't buy anything? I know what that's like. It just makes so much sense to me. And I hope that anyone listening, following, watching, I hope that message resonates.
Absolutely. We could be talking forever, and I want to get all of us out on the golf course and just hang and maybe just talk about how I can't stop three putting, because that is something that I need to work on. My dad would tell me that all the time. Hi, Dad, if you're listening to this. But thank you all so much for being here and for just being you and being such lovely humans, and your advocacy, your visibility, your joy in loving this sport and loving this game, and just being you. So as we head out, for everybody who's listening, where can we find all of you? Brad, let's start with you. Where can folks find you, find your golf?
The link to my YouTube channel is in the chat. I made sure everyone can see that. Or otherwise, YouTube, Bradford Wilson Golf. I'm at Bradford Wilson Golf on Instagram, Bradford W Golf on Twitter, Bradford Wilson Golf on TikTok. Subscribe to my podcast. It's called Group Golf Therapy. And I'm joined by some incredible humans who are like-minded, who may not identify as a queer person, but are like-minded in that we can use our platforms to do good for this game. We're all advocates of therapy. We all love golf, and it's just a fun conversation. We were so lucky to have Maya on this morning, and stay tuned for that one.
Haley, I saw you drop your handles in the chat. For folks who want to follow Haley and her journey to the LPGA Tour, you can find her on Instagram and Twitter at Hailey D Golf, and look for that verified check mark because she is a superstar. And she also threw her GoFundMe to help support
That's my
her.
Full story.
And go support her journey to the LPGA Tour. check that out via her GoFundMe, because yeah, let's throw some money behind the marginalized communities in sports and see all of this success. Shane, you also threw your handles and changing the game in the chat, which you can follow Shane at Pants Diamond on Instagram and Twitter. And you can follow Changing the Game on socials at Changing Game Doc, and find it on Hulu and go watch it immediately. It is a phenomenal, joyous, just amazing documentary.
I run all of the socials. I will also drop our website. If you want to bring a panel or bring a conversation or bring a training, or are interested in continuing the conversation about what we can do for trans inclusion in sport, let me know. We're happy to make something work with you.
Absolutely. And Tad, where can folks find you?
Mainly Instagram. I'm somewhat active on Twitter here and there. But if you just type my name in, Tad Fujikawa, on pretty much any social media, I should pop up. There aren't very many Tad Fujikawas. So yeah, but on Instagram, I'm most active, and my handle is Taddy, Taddy 808. So go follow me. Thanks.
Represent Hawaii. Suzanne, I know you have a lot of really great things to plug for this upcoming fall. So where folks can celebrate Pride, can celebrate LGBTQ community at a really phenomenal golf course, right?
That's right. This year will be the 3rd annual SF Pride Pro-Am. And I hope everybody here on the panel for sure is there October 9th at Harding Park. And if you've never, oh my God, to be there when everybody rolls out in the carts, it's the most festive, beautiful, joyous tournament that you'll ever play in. I mean, just joy of the LGBTQ community being like dominating the golf course, okay? And that's October 9th. And October 8th, we don't know yet whether he's going to be there in person to receive it. But on October 8th in the Castro at Beau, which is an awesome nightclub, we are going to have the first LGBTQ award given by the SF Pride Golf Pro-Am. And Tad Fujikawa will be the first recipient of this annual award. And so I'm kind of dropping it now. I might get in trouble, but I really don't care. So we'd love, everybody really, if you can get to San Francisco, and this is what our dream is that this weekend will become the focus for LGBTQ golf every year. And we will do some great things and raise some money in the meantime. So thank you.
Yes.
sfpridegolf.org. And you can find me, I'm the oldest person on this panel. You can find me on Facebook the most.
We're pulling up to SF Ride. We're pulling up.
Squad is rolling deep. Yeah. Shane, we are absolutely going. And Tad, whether or not you are there in person, I know if you are not there in person, you'll be crushing it at Q School. So just a lot of reasons for all of us to be cheering you on. But
hopefully I can make it. I really want to. Obviously, it's a big part of who I am, and it would be great to meet everybody and be with my family. So
absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here, for celebrating golf, for talking about golf. When do a bunch of queer folks, POC folks get to just talk about golf? So I love you all so dearly. And thank you to everyone who came live, everyone who's going to be watching this later. We love you all, and let's see who's going to dominate over at Torrey Pines next week. And also hashtag Team Meg Hagan, because that 17-year-old is about to crush it everywhere. All right.
She was so awesome. That last few holes, she was so awesome. 16, 17, and 18, that kid, she is going to be a superstar.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone, and happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Hi, my name is Annie Mascott and I'm an NCAA Division III golfer. I am outspoken about LGBTQ rights, especially in spaces where they are historically threatened, such as in athletics. Although sports are becoming a more inclusive environment to LGBTQ athletes, there are still a few key ways in which this can be improved in the future. It is important to continue asking the NCAA to protect LGBTQ athletes and combat discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. Athletes competing in a safe environment free of discrimination is not a luxury, but a necessity that is yet to be met.
Hi everyone, my name's Aaliyah. I'm a rising senior at Washington University in St. Louis. I'm on the women's track and field team, and I'm one of these student athletes that mobilized over 800 NCAA student athletes to push the NCAA to move championships out of states that are trying to pass or have passed legislation that directly discriminates against trans youth and trans athletes. Inclusion in sport is the entire reason why I'm still an athlete today. I started running track and field when I was 9 years old. And I know how important the lessons in sports are and the journey that an athlete can go on. And being in an inclusive and safe and welcoming environment is vital for those lessons to be learned, those connections and that family bond to be made. So, on the topic of LGBTQ inclusion, it's almost a no-brainer. It's necessary, it's vital. And then in terms of, the NCAA, we got a statement from them effectively saying that they were going to, not host championships in states that were passing this legislation. And then, we saw this summer with the softball championships and the track and field first round, they turned around and did it. And so it's really important that we keep pushing and we keep advocating and fighting for trans athletes and fighting for trans rights, because this is a battle that's not ending anytime soon. And I know how important sports are to my life. And I want everyone to feel that same joy, that same love, and have that same family connection that I've had and I've been lucky enough to have. So thank you, Maya, for putting this event together and having this discussion. I think it's incredible, and I'm more than happy to help out.
Hi, my name is Max, and I'm on the women's swim and dive team at Washington University in St. Louis. I'm a member of WashU's chapter of Athlete Ally that worked to collect hundreds of NCAA student-athlete signatures to fight against hosting NCAA championships in states with anti-trans bills or laws that directly harm trans youth and trans athletes. Being a member of a group is super important to feeling a sense of inclusion, welcomeness, and acceptance. This goes for all people, including queer athletes. Feeling safe in your own spaces enables people to be true to themselves and to feel okay working towards their goals in life. The positive experiences of family and collaboration on a team have made me into the person that I am today. The connections I've made with my teammates over the past 14 years as a swimmer have brought me so much joy, have brought me so many memories that I cherish with all of my heart. Sports need to be inclusive of LGBTQ+ youth and athletes so that they can achieve the same feelings of welcomeness and acceptance, so that they can have the same family bond on a team, so that they can have memories to cherish and recall with joy. To the NCAA, in order to make sports a welcoming place for all people, we can no longer tolerate holding events in places unwelcoming to any person. Let's work to make all athletes feel accepted in their sport.
Playing volleyball is my absolute favorite thing in the entire world. At any given moment, it's what I want to be doing. My teammates are my favorite people. My best memories, my best life lessons have all come from playing volleyball. And this is why it is so important that that experience, the experience of being on a team, the experience of playing sports, is available for everyone, because I don't know who I would be without this sport. And I do know that one of the main reasons I chose the college program that I did to continue playing at was because of their culture of inclusion and of acceptance. And having that in my life has been so important and has brought me so much happiness and joy. And this is why it is crucial that the NCAA keep their word and pull their championships from states with anti-trans policies, because sports are for everyone.